The hair is getting longer, the beard is getting greyer, but the quality of my predictions stays as bad as ever, everybody. Let's move on to week number 30 of this championship season for another weekend in this crazy and unpredictable championship. Welcome to all my regular viewers. If you are new here, welcome to you as well. Please note that these predictions are usually wide of the mark. It's just usually whatever I just pick out of thin air at the time of recording. I don't really have any rules. Well, I do have one, and it's a golden rule that I have to abide by no matter what. As a loyal Oxford United fan, it means my rule is Oxford always win. Away from home, not so much, but at home, at home, that's where we get our business done. And the U's are at home this week. Watch out, Bristol City. We're coming for you.
Ooh, you're hard.
All right. Let's move on to predictions. And it's a Lancashire hot pot to start us off on Friday night up at Ewood Park as the former Premier League champions Blackburn Rovers take on Preston North End. Don't let league position fool you in this one, because Blackburn Rovers are having a really poor run of it at the moment. Only just one win in their last 6. They come up against the Preston side that I say for a long time don't lose many games, are very hard to beat, and themselves are coming off back-to-back wins and had a fantastic win over Middlesbrough. Some pretty shoddy defending, giving Preston the win, but nevertheless a very impressive victory. It's actually jumped them above my beloved Oxford United in the table. Shame on you, Preston. I don't agree with that. And whilst Blackburn will be looking at this game playing before everybody else at the weekend as a chance to get a win and jump back into the playoffs, I just don't think they're going to get it done. And I think that Preston are going to go to Ewood Park and score an impressive win to make it their 3rd win on the bounce. Blackburn Rovers 1, Preston North End 2. Oxford United versus Bristol City, undoubtedly the game of the weekend. I'm sure you all agree. A lot of the narrative surrounding this game will be about Liam Manning coming back to the Kassam Stadium for the first time after he kind of left us, not really in the lurch, but left us surprisingly last season to join Bristol City. He's gotten a lot of crap from the Oxford fans for that, but I hope we've got that out of our system now. Don't really need to play on that all the time. We had a bit of fun with it away at Ashton Gate. We lost that game. So hopefully it's not going to be too much of a bad reception for Manning on his return. And he brings a Bristol City side that are still pushing for the playoffs. And a Bristol City side in pretty good form, but just really not consistent enough to really challenge to get into those playoffs for me. But they get a win at the Kassam, and that could really change things around. It is only one defeat in the last 6 games for Bristol City side. There's a lot of ex-Oxford old boys in Liam Manning's side. Luke McNally, one of them, having an excellent season at the back. I remember him. He was really good. I really wish he still played for United. But United themselves are in superb form, especially at the Kassam Stadium, where we've won every game since Gary Rowett has come in. We haven't even lost a game since Rowett's come in either. It's a remarkable turnaround, and I can tell you confidence will be extremely high in the Oxford camp. Still ruining Ollie Romani not hitting the target when he had an open goal in that game against Stoke. Would have been an amazing 3 points, but nevertheless, still a decent point on the road as the Oxford bandwagon continues to roll. I know some people in the comments have been very kind and talked about Oxford having a playoff charge. I don't want them to be anywhere near it. We're nowhere near good enough to be in the playoffs. But if we can get a win in this game, that would be ever so sweet. And of course, I'm going to be back in the yellows in this game. Of course. And Oxford have been pretty free scoring at the Kassam Stadium as well. So I think they're going to run in the goals and it's going to be another famous win. Oxford United 3, Bristol City 1.
Yes.
Plymouth Argyle versus West Bromwich Albion. This one should be a really interesting game at Home Park. Let's start with the Pilgrims and just say what a fantastic draw away at Sunderland. It isn't the most amazing thing in terms of turning your league position around, but a lot of people, including myself, thought you were going to get roundly thumped up at the Stadium of Light. But not only did you not get thumped, but you ended up coming away with a very creditable 2-2 draw. Away fans rewarded for that horrific journey that you have to make up the whole length of England. Still no win under Miron Muslic just yet, but I'll tell you what, I do like him. I like the way he talks after the games. He sounds like the sort of manager you could just get right behind, but he's got to start getting some results to turn it around. And things don't get any easier for Plymouth. West Brom coming off the back of some good form themselves, having a spankingly good win, and that 5-0 win where Portsmouth really threw in the towel has propelled the Baggies back up into the playoffs, back up into 5th place, and they know another big win here will just cement that position in those playoffs. But Plymouth are usually pretty good at home, barring that horrible defeat they had to Burnley. But hopefully they'll be thinking they've turned a bit of a corner after that spirited 2-2 draw. And as much as I'd like West Brom to win for a friend in the channel, Lee Burke, who'd be celebrating a birthday, I do think this one's going to end up being all square. And it's going to be the same scoreline of what Plymouth had up at the Stadium of Light. Going for a Desmond, Plymouth 2, West Brom 2. Watford versus Norwich City. So you've got the old conundrum of teams being good at home, teams being poor away in this tie here. For once, I actually got a Watford score, well, not score right. I might have even got the score right when they played Coventry. Watford actually doing what I thought they would do for once. It doesn't happen very often. But I also thought Norwich would get a pretty easy win in their home game over Swansea, and they certainly did. But fortunes for the Canaries are not very good when they're on their travels. Despite having Josh Sargent back in their ranks scoring those goals at the weekend, I just don't fancy Norwich's chances away from home. And Tom Cleverley's men certainly are better when they play at Vicarage Road. And I think this will be a much needed victory for the Hornets. And I'm going to go for Watford 3, Norwich 1. Over to the baseball ground now for Derby County versus Sheffield United. Yes, I know it's a lame joke, but hey, I'm sticking to it. Derby County not doing too well under Paul Warne at the moment, going down in their relegation 6-pointer at the weekend to Cardiff, despite having some good chances at the end of that game to level it up. But also on the flip side, Zetterstrom did make some good saves after some pretty ropey defending. But Derby generally have been better at home, as all the promoted sides have, than they have been away. But they are going to come up against a Sheffield United side that, one, are very good, and two, are a wounded animal after they were mauled by the Tigers in perhaps one of the biggest shocks, not only of the weekend, but of the championship season. Who would have seen that come in? That 3-0 defeat at Bramall Lane. So Sheffield United will be smarting. They've had a week to stew on it. And it really wasn't the homecoming for some of the big hitters that they brought in, like Berriton Diaz, like Tom Cannon, and they'll be hoping for a response. And usually when Chris Wilder gets a response, it usually comes from making the game really tight and not giving anything away. And that's what I think Sheffield United will do here. I mean, how long are Derby going to persist with Paul Warne? It's clearly a fractured relationship. It's clearly getting a little bit tetchy, but they carry on with him. And the fans are not happy with what's going on the field. They're worried that they are getting more and more sucked into a relegation battle that they might not be able to pull themselves out of. And they will be just hoping that they can get anything out of this game. But I don't see it. And I see this one go in the way of the Blades. Not a particularly exciting game, but one that Sheffield United will edge. Derby County 0, Sheffield United 1. And now we look at the maulers of Sheffield United, and that is the Tigers themselves. Hull City versus Stoke City. It's another huge game down the bottom of the table, but Hull will be full of confidence after the victory they had at Bramall Lane. What a superb win it was as well. No one in their right mind would have predicted it, I don't think, but congratulations. Hull on the road have been very impressive. It's just Ruben Sellers has got to turn that form around back in Hull, but he hasn't done it yet. But maybe this is a good opportunity to do so against the Stoke side that haven't clicked yet under Mark Robins. They still look very sluggish. I don't think they were great in the game they had against Oxford. It was a game they would have been expecting to beat, and they'll be thinking, if you can't beat Oxford at home, who can you beat? But they didn't, and we came away with it with a 0-0 draw. Now, the addition of Al Hamadi from Ipswich is a really good signing, and I think he will change Stoke's fortunes in terms of them scoring goals. But will it result in them winning games? I don't know. But they certainly have been harder to beat under Mark Robins. Not many defeats in there, but not many wins in there. But I just feel that Hull, off the back of that victory over Sheffield United, will get another victory here. And I think you're going to start to see the Tigers move away from that drop zone. So I'm going for a Hull win. I'm going for Hull City 2, Stoke City 1. Leeds United versus Cardiff City. Leeds remain in top spot in this championship table, despite all of the sides at the top of the table not winning their games. They got a 0-0 draw away at Burnley. We'll talk more about it when we go to the Burnley section, but my goodness, it wasn't one that will be remembered at the end of the season. Bit of a snooze fest. But Leeds will come away from it thinking that's a difficult game, a creditable point against a promotion rival, keeps their distance over Burnley intact, and with Sheffield United losing, it gains a point over them. And also, Leeds know that when they are at Elland Road, they usually roll sides over, and they will be expecting to do the same to this Cardiff City side. But this Cardiff City side have been excellent in recent weeks. A fantastic 2-1 win over Derby in a pressure cooker of a game, a real 6-pointer. And again, Cardiff's form over the last few weeks has given them a bit of breathing space, given them a bit of confidence down the bottom of the table. Now, I did get an interesting comment from Jeremy Powell, who talked about the change in Cardiff's fortunes is down to the appointment of Richard Shaw coming in as defensive coach. Interesting point, Jeremy, and I do appreciate it. I also appreciate the very kind words you said about my ramblings, which is always goes down well. But I disagree. Because when Cardiff lost to Oxford on Boxing Day, that was rock bottom hit for the Bluebirds, and it was just a case of every single person in Cardiff saying, no more, we cannot get any lower than this, we need to turn a corner. And you certainly have. So there you go. Maybe it's Richard Shaw, maybe it's my bizarre musings. But either way, I'm beating about the bush because I do think Cardiff are going to lose this game. And I think Leeds are going to get a victory, just mainly because they're so strong at Elland Road. So maybe just turn your video off for a second, Jeremy, so you don't see the score come in. I'm going for a big win for Leeds. Leeds 3, Cardiff 0. Millwall versus the Queen's Park Rangers. Bit of a London derby here. Contrasting fortunes over the weekend. Millwall getting an excellent victory away at Kenilworth Road, piling some more misery onto Luton Town, but I think that was Alex Neil's first win in charge of the Lions, so very timely, very much needed win for Millwall, who still can struggle to score goals, although that one they scored against Luton was a cracker, but at the back they still look very solid. QPR, their long unbeaten run, their great run of form, come to a screeching halt at Loftus Road with Sheffield Wednesday turning them over. So Martis Cifuentes will want a response if they're going to continue trying to march towards an outside bet of being in the playoffs. But I just feel that both sides will cancel each other out a little bit in this one, and I do feel this one's going to be honours even, and I think we're looking at a draw, and I'm going for Millwall 1, QPR 1. Portsmouth versus Burnley. Wow, Portsmouth, what happens when you go away from Fratton Park? Another, quite frankly, embarrassing performance against West Bromwich Albion, where, let's be fair, you threw in the towel in that game, and if it wasn't for the fact of West Brom taking their foot off the gas, it could have been a heck of a lot worse. At least you got a consolation goal at the end to reward your amazing travelling fans, but my goodness, John Mousinho's got to start getting some points on the road, because you can't be too over-reliant on this home form, no matter of how amazing that it is. But Portsmouth do have a home game probably tonight. You probably have already seen the score of it by the time you watch this video. But if they'd have won that game over Millwall, they'll jump up quite significantly in the table with that game in hand, and they'll have a nice 5-point cushion to the bottom clubs. But it'll be interesting to see what Portsmouth can do against this brick wall of a side that Scott Parker has in Burnley. And for all the fantastic spirit that Portsmouth play with when they're at Fratton Park, this Burnley side is, well, they are quite something, aren't they? This game they had against Leeds United is another defensive masterclass.
Boring.
Look, you've got to give credit. At the back, they're really good. They're really solid.
Boring.
It's an unbelievable amount of clean sheets they've kept already.
Boring.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. They are really boring. They are really boring to watch. Compare it to the side that Vincent Kompany had a couple of seasons ago. It's completely opposite under Scott Parker. And yes, they keep a lot of clean sheets, but my goodness, those games are
boring.
Yes, well said, Homer. So are Portsmouth going to be able to breach the Burnley brick wall? Well, I keep backing sides to do it, and they keep letting me down. But I do think Portsmouth will. I do think they're going to get one goal, but I think Burnley will get a goal as well. And I think this is going to end up honours even, which actually will be a pretty good point for Pompey. Not sure Burnley will be too happy with it. Portsmouth 1, Burnley 1. Sheffield Wednesday versus Luton Town.
Come on, Wednesday!
I mean, this one just looks like a massive home banker for the Owls, doesn't it? You've got to imagine that Sheffield Wednesday will be looking at this one as a massive opportunity to get 3 points. It will put them on the cusp or pretty much in the playoffs if results go their way. And the fact that they went away to QPR, the place where nobody's won for an age, and they got a 2-0 victory. Goals from Callum Patterson. Another amazing win on the road for Danny Roll's Owls. Usually it's at Hillsborough where they tend to mess things up. But surely you're not going to mess it up this time, Sheffield Wednesday fans. Luton fans, can you turn this season around? Because it's getting worse and worse by the week. Losing at home to Millwall. You've had no bounce from Matt Bloomfield yet. And this is not going to be an easy game at all, going up to a Sheffield Wednesday side who, let's be face it, are a pretty handy outfit. I just don't see that change in fortunes anywhere on the horizon. And Luton fans, Mike, you are staring at back-to-back relegation in the face, which is, well, quite frankly, unthinkable when you looked at the start of the season. But I think Sheffield Wednesday are going to get a big win. They're going to be the biggest winners of this weekend, scoring a hatful of goals. Oh, what a time to be an Owls fan. Sheffield Wednesday 4, Luton Town 1. Swansea City versus Coventry City, a tale of two cities again. And Frank Lampard is doing the business for this Coventry City side. As much as I gave him criticism a few weeks ago, he's backed it up with 3 wins on the bounce. Pretty comfortable, impressive win over Watford. Victor Torp having a screamer, and they come up against a Swansea City side. Oh my goodness, I nearly called them Cardiff, who are in free fall, falling down the league, really struggling under Luke Williams, and have only won 1 in the last 6 games. And they've lost 3 on a row. So it's a side that's won 3 in a row against a side that's lost 3 in a row. You know how Luke Williams has already blamed. He's already blamed Swansea's pitch. They can't play football on it. It's just impossible to play. This is what the pitch actually looks like. It's impossible to play football on that pitch. So Super Frank is going to take his Coventry side up there, or across there, to Wales, to South Wales. Get that victory and go back to the Midlands, have a nice cigar and have a nice Saturday evening. It's going to be a nice win for the Cov. Up you Sky Blues. Swansea City 0, Coventry City 2. And we move to Monday for a plum tie of Middlesbrough versus Sunderland, a derby up in the northeast of England. Do you know the Muffin Man, by the way? I do. He comments on my videos and he's a Sunderland fan. So thank you very much, Muffin Man, for all the kind words that you give on this channel. I'm looking at this game for a bit of excitement, a bit of drama on Monday night, because we certainly didn't get one on the Monday just gone between Leeds and Burnley, but I think we're going to get something up at the Riverside on this Monday coming. Look, Middlesbrough usually have goals in their games, both for and against. As good as they are going forward, they're pretty shoddy at the back, and that was in full evidence against that Preston side. What the heck was going on with that Preston winning goal? And Sunderland themselves have this tendency to shoot themselves in the foot, like the ultimate shooting in the foot with a home game against Plymouth when all your other rivals drop points and you can't get the job done. Pretty terrible, pretty scandalous result from a Sunderland point of view, those drop points against Plymouth. But Middlesbrough as well. They just seem to have one good game, one bad game, one good game, one bad game, and they just seem to almost get into the playoffs, move out of the playoffs, get into the playoffs, move out of the playoffs. And it's the same with Sunderland in terms of automatic promotion. They get close and fall away, they get close and fall away. You just need a little bit more consistency, and I just don't know which way this game is going to go. So what I did to decide this one, using my own logic, was I tossed a coin in the air 50 times, head Middlesbrough, tail Sunderland. But to be honest, after about 5 or 6 goes, I got bored, so I just thought, why not just pick Sunderland for a win? Black Cats all the way. Middlesbrough 2, Sunderland 3. There we have it, folks. There we have it. That is week number 30 in the books. Let me know your thoughts on my predictions, but more importantly, give your predictions down below. And remember, the transfer window slams shut soon, so maybe your side can still make a few key signings. Let me know if there's any on the horizons. Let me know if there's any that you need. And keep your hands off Tyler Goodrum. You can't have him. But there you go. That'll do for me, everybody. Thank you very much for the support that you always give on this channel. I really do appreciate it. I'll be back to do a review of hopefully Oxford's win over Bristol City. And then we'll see what's on the horizon. To be honest, I can't quite remember. But thanks very much for watching. And I'll leave it to Leonard Nimoy to see us home.
My work is done here.
What do you mean your work is done? You didn't do anything.
Didn't I?